I am this close to jumping back into the ring with grant consulting, joining a team of seasoned entrepreneurs that literally went from having 0 clients to 200,000 in monthly revenue in 8 months. That's right, they've done $1 million in revenue in less than a year. They are tapping me so that they can enter the United States market. The one and only investor behind their firm only invests in companies that he sees doing at least 100 million in annual revenue. So, to say I feel a little imposter syndrome is a real freaking understatement. If you are feeling imposter syndrome as a grant writer too, I feel you, and here is my #1 tip to beat it. If you haven't read my book, be sure to go grab a copy because I have an entire chapter dedicated to the topic of imposter syndrome. I think we all know what it is, but to make sure we are singing from the same sheet of music, it's when you think you're gonna get figured out, that you have no idea what you're doing and you're going to be exposed as a fraud. I see this all the time, especially among my new grant writers that are breaking into the industry thinking they aren't worthy of getting paid because they don't have any or much grant writing experience. False. Your past experiences serve you in grant writing, and it's a skill you can build quite quickly. So while also being this incredible field that you don't necessarily ever master because there's always new levels, right? It's like the real life game of Mario Bros. So I was hired by an engineering firm, just for some background context, to be their full-time grant writer at age 23. I had written 2 tiny little grants before they hired me, and the first project they wrote me in on was helping an Alaska Native tribe get a clinic funded after 10 years of stalling out, which funny enough, my video editor who's here, we were just talking about this project because he knows the person that was behind it that hired me. Small world. How do you think I felt? I had imposter syndrome. What was I supposed to figure out that a bunch of real adults couldn't? I put together a funding strategy process I created. I didn't even have it called that at that time. When I realized that complex, expensive projects won't be one and done with a single grant. I needed several, to the tune of $5 million. So the first grant I did for them was this U.S. Housing and Urban Development Indian Community Development Block Grant. Whew, mouthful, for $600K. I worked my peaches off to get that grant done, and then I agonized for months until the announcement was made. I was very prepared to quit my job in disgrace if the grant was not successful. Thankfully, I won the grant, or who knows, maybe we wouldn't even be here right now. So that helped me build my confidence doing it, actually jumping into a real project. And then after writing several more grants, not all of which were funded, by the way, but we did get that project funded, and I now get to drive by the Eklutna Clinic every time I go north of Anchorage. I look at that beautiful building and it fills me with warm fuzzies to know that I did not let imposter syndrome keep me from taking uncomfortable action and making a difference. And in case you didn't catch it, because I see my members all the time thinking this, they think we need confidence first before you start on a grant, and it doesn't work that way. Confidence comes after doing the thing that scares you. Now, I want you to think of moving through imposter syndrome as a journey from being a mini-corn to a soonicorn to a full-on grant writing unicorn. Now, imposter syndrome was first described by Pauline Rose Clance and Suzanne Imes as occurring among high achievers who are unable to internalize and accept their success. These high achievers will often contribute their success to luck rather than accomplishment and fear others are going to unmask them. So we often see the Dunning-Kruger effect play out among members of the Global Grant Writing Collective. So when you're first starting, you're on a high, you feel confident in your decision to become a grant writer, you're crushing the course curriculum, maybe you land your first client, you do a funding strategy, you're earning your certificate, and then boom, you actually realize how much you don't know. Now, this typically occurs at day 109, and I know that's a little bit particular, but that's literally the level of detail that we're studying to make sure we're there to help you rally through the valley of despair. Now you are more competent than when you started, but your confidence is still a little shaky. This is an uncomfortable place to be, and this is where most educational programs kick you to the curb, and most people quit learning new things. This is where self-development, coaching, community, it all kicks in. Your confidence starts to restore as you're building your competence with real-world experience and exposure. With your first paid project or charging more to an existing client, whatever it is that's hella scary to you at the start, you've now graduated to the soonicorn stage. This is when you're on the up and up, but you're still a little shaky. The cool thing is that this teenage phase can happen a lot faster than you might realize. So in 5 months, I had a member named Katie who went from thinking she wrote a $5,000 grant that was ambitious to her literally writing a state grant for $100,000, which was successful. And then I hired her to write me a $600,000 Department of Justice grant to reduce recidivism in Southeast Alaska. All successful in 5 months. I'm not going to tell you to look yourself in the mirror and speak verbal affirmations because the reality is those don't work if they don't pass your BS meter. So here is my number one tip I have for beating imposter syndrome that actually works. I want you to get out a piece of paper and I want you to write down what you want, your goal. Maybe it's, I have so much grant writing consulting business, I quit my job. I land a dream nonprofit job that lets me work from home 2 days a week. I make a take-home salary of $100,000. Whatever it is, write it down over and over and over. Now, as you write down your goal, what pesky thoughts are coming up? Who am I to make that much? There's no way. Who's gonna hire me if I haven't done millions of grants? Now you're gonna basically flip the page and write those pesky thoughts on the back side. Your goal is to write basically what you, like your ambition, your goal about 30 times. And then we're gonna discover all of those limiting beliefs that are in the nooks and crannies as they're coming up. Then the third page is writing down what is that incrementally better belief that passes your BS meter. So what is that belief that like you can get behind it? Because you're like, yeah, I believe that. I'm gonna give you an example. I wrote here, like I building a $100 million grant consulting business. Hey, I told you we go big around here. So I'm writing this. I have built a $100 million grant consulting business. I have built a $100 million grant consulting business. Now, on the backside, there is lots of things that are coming up that are sticky for me. Who am I? I've never built something 100th that size. This firm, they don't need me. They can do it themselves. The partners I'm gonna work with. Do I even have the skills to play in this league? I'm scared of that true startup culture because of my past experiences. Like, I don't wanna get sick again. Am I gonna get lost in this and not be a present mom? Like, these are all like my fears and the things that could potentially sabotage me from that goal happening, right? Now I'm gonna work on my incrementally better beliefs. I've figured out new things in the past and I can do it again. If I knew how to do this, it wouldn't be fun. I can do this. I can build a $100 million consulting business, and then honestly, I need to go build out more of them. I haven't finished the activity, only got started. But you can see how it is true. I can believe, hey, just because I haven't done this before doesn't mean I can't do it again. That's true. That passes my BS meter, right? I've done hard things before. I can do hard things again. We work on basically rewriting new beliefs that pass our BS meter. So I hope that makes sense because I'm just sharing with you like literally how I am transmuting in real time my own feelings of imposter syndrome to start partnering and scaling this AI-powered grant consulting business. When I first started teaching grant writing to others in 2018, I thought it was all a matter of understanding the nuts and bolts of grant writing, the steps to take. And now I am increasingly convinced it's more about 20% nuts and bolts, 80% about the mindset work. Because without our minds being on our side, or at least not actively sabotaging us from reaching our goals, the nuts and bolts don't matter. For that reason, I want you to know that if you decided to join us inside the Global Grant Writing Collective, you might think you're coming in for the step-by-step instruction, which hey, we got that dialed, but you're also going to change. You will become a different person in the most beautiful way, because having what you want requires becoming that person before you have the artifacts to prove it. To recap, if you are feeling imposter syndrome, congratulations. This means you're expanding yourself to do and be more. Give yourself the gift of belief upgrades and see what happens. I'd love to know in the comments below what incrementally better belief clicked for you. I really encourage you to just take a moment and actually do this exercise because it works wonders. All right, I'll see you in the next video.